welcome to All Steelers Talk, your home for everything Pittsburgh Steelers, presented by allsteelers.com.
What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk or anywhere you get your podcasts. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined every Tuesday and Thursday by my main man, Donnie Droon. The Pittsburgh Steelers made some surprising cuts. I think a clear indication for two big, surprising things, headline-worthy things. And on top of that, I got some theories about what's going to happen with the quarterback competition in the next 2 weeks, but we'll get into all that first. It is a gorgeous day here in the Berg. Let me tell you, Donnie, picked up my first pumpkin iced coffee today.
Ooh.
The beginning of fall, the best time of the year. It is a beautiful, beautiful day. How you feeling, my friend?
It's always a great day whenever you get to come on YouTube and talk Steelers football with everybody. Also, it's actually my fault we started a little bit late, so my apologies to those in the chat who expressed wishes that we started earlier.
That's all right. It's, sometimes you got to wait for great things. It just is what it is. We got to have our chats. Like nobody, we jump in here. I wish I could figure that out on YouTube to say we're going to start in 20 minutes, because we never once jumped in here and been like, oh, let's go. We're just like, yo, how's life? Oh, yeah. I did this. Sometimes half the time I got to go to the bathroom before we start in here. So, or something goes wrong. So, that's on both of us, but we'll get that figured out. Anyways, the Pittsburgh Steelers made some cuts. I think that's where we got to start today. Trim their roster from 85 to 80. Couple of guys that you saw coming: Christian Blake, Mateo Durant. I'm not proud to say that I saw that one on its way. Nick Skiba, the kicker. And then Chris Oladokun and Jannard Avery made their way onto the list as well. First, let me ask you this, and I think this is a pretty obvious answer, but they're both a little bit surprising in different fashions. Were you more surprised by Avery or more surprised by Oladokun?
I think it's a little bit more surprised by Avery, considering not the depth of the inside linebacker, but more so the availability in his current position. Yep. I mean, we saw Oladokun get drafted in the 7th round, and we kind of put 2 and 2 together that it might have been a stretch for him to make the active roster. Obviously, he can still come back in a practice squad if he clears everything. But I mean, everybody, it looked like on Steelers Twitter, it's just everywhere in general, was pretty surprised by Avery being released, at least at this point in the preseason.
Yeah, I didn't know if Avery was going to make the roster. It was a weird situation. He didn't practice during OTAs or minicamp because he was injured. Came into training camp, he was injured again. Didn't really play super well against the Jaguars. I thought that the Steelers were going to see who's available on the market first and then make a cut with the 53-man roster. But to do it now, I think it's more to clear cap space and just say, okay, we're going to sacrifice whatever dead money came with it, and then we're going to move on. But it was definitely a bit surprising. And that leads us to the big question. Where do you go from here? If it's not Jannard Avery, and I mean, Derek Tushka is probably going to make the roster as the 4th guy, but you don't know who, or you don't know who else is it almost certain that a 3rd guy is getting grabbed in these next 2 weeks before week 1?
You would really hope so. You would really hope so. Also, I apologize. It's an inside linebacker at first. Obviously, he is not an inside linebacker. But yeah, we've talked so many times on the show about how, look, TJ Watt, he goes 150 miles per hour. If something happens to that dude, that pass rush isn't screwed. I mean, but whenever you take TJ Watt out of the equation, things certainly don't get easier. You need that 3rd, legitimate rotational guy to spell either Watt or Highsmith. And I don't think the Steelers, I don't know if they just don't value any of the guys they currently have, but man, especially if you cut Avery, you need to, I don't even want to say you need to be looking. You need to know somebody's going to be coming.
Yep. That's the thing. So my biggest concern, the 3rd edge rusher, you got to find somebody, but Alex Highsmith hasn't practiced in 3 weeks. He's dealing with a rib injury. I don't know when he's coming back. And even if he does, he's shown before that, he's got, injury issues here and there. You got to have somebody on deck that's not named Derek Tushka. And if Derek Tushka is your guy as of right now, who's your 3rd? Are you looking at Delonte Scott, who's Rondell Carter, who's made his way there? I just don't think that there's an option for them. They're in a worse situation right now than they were to start last season or in the middle of last season after Melvin Ingram got traded. I think you have to. It almost guarantees that they have their eyes on somebody or they're hearing something that somebody's going to get cut. If it wasn't in this third or the second wave, then it's going to happen rather sooner than later. I think that it has to. Like, you can't avoid it. You can't walk into
17 game regular
like
season. Like, you're hoping to make a run to the postseason. Guys are going to get banged up. It is what it is. It's kind of the reality. That's why having a full 53-man roster of capable guys is so crucial and so important. Like for teams to win a Super Bowl, like one of my favorite quotes like from Hard Knocks is from like Mike McCarthy. I think the year the Cowboys were on it. He talked about whenever he led Green Bay to that Super Bowl in 2010. And he talked about how those guys 1 through 53 all contributed to it. Every single one of them put everything they had into it, and they ended up with a Lombardi trophy. It's not rocket science. It's not anything crazy, but like all 53 guys on the Steelers are going to have to do that in order for them to at least make the playoffs. That includes getting a valuable rotational outside edge rusher that they could have had with Quincy Roche, that they could have had with Melvin Ingram, but for whatever reason, those two fell through. I see a lot of people in the chat talking about Kendrick Green. We'll get to that in a moment. Maybe he can rush the passer.
I think that at this point, and I'm trying to look through the guys who got cut today, but I don't think there's a name that's alarming to the point where this is the move, which makes even more concern because that means that you're going to try to get a guy game ready in a week with your team and say, okay, you have to play quality minutes in the first in week 1. It's not like you have a dead period or a slower time to adjust somebody to your defense. And I get that, the Steelers pass rush off the bench is pretty self-explanatory. Go get the quarterback, but they run a lot of 3 outside linebacker sets that they want that guy to be part of. And you can't expect that in week 1. I think I don't know. I have to dig through these names, but you have to see somebody added. I would say in the next week. By next Tuesday, I think the final cut's Tuesday by 4:00. You have to see somebody make that team. But Wednesday morning, if it's not tomorrow, it should be next week. And I, quite frankly, like I said, I'm going through these guys that got cut, and there's not somebody that stands out just like, oh, that's a name that they could go get right off the bat. There's like one outside linebacker that got cut outside of Pittsburgh, and it's Wyatt Ray, and that's not somebody that stands out to me. So I think that you're looking at right now a roster that's just waiting, and we'll see what happens. It's a very, very concerning. I think it's moved to be more concerning than inside linebacker.
Even the free agency pool isn't like super great. I mean, there's a couple names on here like D Ford is still available, KJ Wright is still available, Pernell McPhee, Jamie Collins, just to name a few. But
all those guys
a lot of these guys, I mean, like that doesn't really move the needle. But on the other end of the token, like, do you need them to move the needle, or do you just need them to be like a guy who can come in for a certain amount of plays each game and just make sure things continue to run as smoothly as they possibly can on the defensive side of the ball?
I think for that third guy, you need somebody that moves the needle. I do, because I think they play too many reps. They play 3. You're going to play a guy like that 15% of a game. So he doesn't have to be a superstar, but he's got to be somebody that can contribute 15% of it. You don't want another Anthony Chickillo. You don't want another Derek Tushka, because then you're stuck in a situation where what if somebody does go down and then you got Derek Tushka or Anthony Chickillo starting at outside linebacker, and that's
good times.
Possibly worse. Yeah, that's terrible times. Like, we've been through this time and time again. You don't want to do it again. So I don't know. I think that right now it's a wait and see type situation. But it was a surprise. I had a feeling he wouldn't last to the 53, but I didn't think that they'd make the move now and just say, oh, okay, well, we'll just walk into this with nothing and just take our chances, I guess. I don't know.
Clearly they have a plan. Like they didn't just gloss over his name whenever making the cuts today, and they were like, oh, okay, well, we'll just figure it out. Like clearly they have a plan. I just don't know what that is.
Exactly. Their plans sometimes are bad plans. And I think that's needs to be brought to
every
light.
team has them,
Yeah, but the Steelers do that a lot. Like a lot. They, what inside linebacker last season. They had no plan. Offensive line, no plan. Now it's outside linebacker. I think their plan was Tyree Johnson and Jannard Avery. Neither of them worked out. And now it's Derek Tushka. So it is, I'm starting to trust their plan less and less and be a little bit more skeptical. I think they do have one. I think it's a guarantee they bring somebody in, but I don't know. Chandler Jones is available. No, he's not available.
Nah, he signed with the Raiders.
With the Raiders. But that would have been a great name, but he would have been expensive.
Yeah, he probably would have wanted to start.
Probably would have wanted to start. That's the other thing. But I think that you have to pay some money. When this 53-man comes out and there's guys out there, you got to pay a little bit of money to say, hey, we need you to come play outside linebacker behind TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith for 25 snaps a game. That's all you need. That's all you need. Just to go through a couple of guys here, I think obviously Mason Rudolph is the topic of discussion, and I think that's where we should go from here. Chris Oladokun was the other surprise cut to get made. Before we get into the Mason Rudolph thing, I have to say that I have spent the whole day flabbergasted at how big of a topic of conversation wasting the 241st pick has been. Like, people are acting as if Kenny Pickett is a bust and you should have went offensive tackle. And people are naming, this guy went undrafted. This guy was drafted 3 spots back. 95% of the time, 7th round draft picks don't work out. It's always a what if situation. So I just don't get where the whole, I get the whole, I feel bad for Chris Oladokun that he didn't get any opportunity in Pittsburgh, but he didn't have any opportunity coming in here. I do not get the whole welcome to what?
To the train of Chris Oladokun was never going to make this team.
Yeah. I thought that he was, even up until I was pretty convinced, still am a little convinced that Mason Rudolph gets shipped somewhere in the next week.
I get maybe, but I don't think that's out of the conversation quite yet. But for us to be acting like Chris Oladokun is like some star quarterback in the making, and like we're just letting this guy go and he's going to go out and just be some phenomenal dude. If they took like a high pick on him, like maybe like even like a 5th round pick, if they took like a flyer on him in the 5th round and they cut him, I would understand it like a little bit more. And like, I get it. Like every draft pick matters. Every guy should have the opportunity to contribute to this team. Both the Steelers and Oladokun knew exactly what it was whenever they picked up the phone and drafted him, whenever he was in minicamp, and whenever he first got to Latrobe. There's no surprises. I don't even think he unpacked his stuff in his dorm, bro.
No, that's what you mean. Like, so, and like, I get it. Like, that sucks for him. I hope he gets an opportunity, but like to act, I think the biggest thing is the wasted pick. No matter who you drafted there, chances are it was a wasted pick.
Bro, so who else would have been some phenomenal guy that would have made the 53?
People will name names. People are going to name a billion names of, this offensive tackle, this defensive end, this cornerback, this wide receiver, blah, 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 blah. It's a 7th round draft pick. You're just taking a shot in the dark and hoping something sticks. That's exactly what happens. The Steelers I think the Steelers' plan coming into this was that Chris Oladokun was going to somewhat do enough to say, I'm the practice squad guy, and then Mason Rudolph was going to get shipped out. That's the only way this makes sense to me.
He still might be a practice squad guy. Like, he can still come back.
Chris Oladokun looked pretty bad when he got opportunities. I will say that. He did not look good. It looked really bad. And like, you can't judge that full force because like people at training camp I saw a lot of people at training camp posting videos and being like, Chris Oladokun can't throw. He's reading wrong reads. I'm like, well, he's playing practice squad for Jacksonville, so he's told to throw bad passes and to certain guys. This is not you are allowed to run the offense. It is, I am telling you what to do, go do it. So that's what a practice squad guy is. And he just never got an opportunity. But like, who cares? Who cares? It's not a move that should have any bearing. We've talked about this for 4 minutes now.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, that's 4 minutes way too long. 4 minutes way too long. Big offensive lineman. I do want to. Who is Adrian Ely? He's played for 5 NFL teams. I don't know. He's a big dude. I met him the other day. He seems like a nice guy, but I looked him up, and the first thing that popped up was that he was on the practice squad and got suspended for PEDs. So, in my head, if you can't even make the 53-man roster while you're taking PEDs, your ceiling can't be very high. So I don't know. And those 5 NFL teams were all last year's practice squad. It was like spent a week here, 4 days here, went back here, 4 days later he was somewhere else. So he's just a journeyman. It's just what it is. Connor's got a good question here. Sign a big offensive lineman or an outside linebacker. I could see both. I would say outside linebacker is probably more realistic, but I think for the first time in a while, we've hit a point where the Steelers would make a move for an offensive lineman. I really do.
Where do you think they go? Like if let's say, like in theory, that they do try to like upgrade a position, like what do you do?
I don't know. I think you trade for somebody. I think you have to. I think especially outside linebacker, I think you could find somebody that gets cut, or at least a couple of hopefuls. But offensive line, I think you have to make a move. Like if Isaiah Wynn's actually available, you have to go out and make a phone call. Bare minimum, say, okay, we'll talk, because you can't walk. You can't. Mike Tomlin blasted Kendrick Green in front of the whole team, and they've completely given up on Kevin Dotson. Your next option's John LeGlue, and honestly, I feel better about John LeGlue than I do Kendrick Green on a football field. That's rock bottom. That is easily rock bottom for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I'm almost to the point where I would contact Ryan Jensen and I would just randomly select one of the guys in a locker room to give up their leg, and then I would surgically repair him and then give him everything those guys took in the 70s and 80s, and I feel like he'd be good to go. Yeah,
that easy. Anybody. I was shocked that Treader didn't get a phone call. I think Mike Tomlin put too much faith into Kendrick Green, and it came back and bit him right in the butt, because Kendrick Green has looked terrible, like the worst player on the football field. And James Daniels looks awful too. So does Dan Moore.
He was supposed to be the best guy, James Daniels.
He was supposed to be. Yeah, nobody has been. Any certain names that we could see? If we're being honest, no. That's the toughest part about this, is it's so hard to go predict who a team's going to go trade for, because we don't know who's on the market. And we have to see, like Isaiah Wynn is rumored to be on the market, but Bill Belichick said he's not. So you have to just take that as, who do you trust more, Bill Belichick or the rumors? Honestly, I trust the rumors more, but I think that you just have to wait. That's the hardest part about this, is there's nobody out there screaming a name. Which brings us to this. Do you draft an offensive lineman in round 1? You have to. We've hit that point. If the Steelers don't draft an offensive lineman in round 1 of next season, what's your reaction? I don't even have what's your reaction?
I wouldn't have been mad if they went offensive line in the first round this year. I wanted them to get Najee. Sorry, I wanted them to draft an offensive lineman instead of Najee last year. I was really big on the Creed Humphrey hype train when they passed up on Creed for Pat Freiermuth. They haven't invested a high draft pick in an offensive line. I think I saw it somewhere. It might have been like Tommy Jaggy that tweeted out, like, they haven't sunk like at least a third round pick in their offensive line since like 2013 or something like that.
2012, when they drafted DeCastro, was the first time they took an offensive lineman in the first 2 rounds. Yeah. Wild.
And like, to be fair, like the Steelers did have very good offensive line play from like basically that point up until like 2018, like 2019 was when it like really started to go downhill a bit. So like take that with a grain of salt or whatever. But like whenever those issues started to pile up, I remember doing this podcast with you last year and just slamming the Steelers for not addressing the offensive line. It became a big problem. And then we just went through the same cycle we did last year, this year. And all of a sudden, people see the Steelers playing against other teams in the preseason. And they're like, oh, this is a problem. It's like, yeah, they didn't do anything about it. Of course it's going to be a problem. Sorry, they tried. They tried to get Mason Cole. They tried to get James Daniels. They didn't do
very
enough.
Mediocre efforts at trying.
Yeah.
James Daniels was a good one. Should have worked out. Maybe he does work out. We don't know. Mason Cole,
fair, it is only
preseason.
Effort.
Yeah, I guess. But if you're looking that bad against the preseason, and people are like, that's it. That shouldn't be an excuse, like you're playing first team guys and you're getting smoked. That's not ideal.
Yeah, it made the Jaguars front look really good.
Really good. And they are good. Don't get me wrong. There's some good names on that Jaguars front seven, but they looked really bad. And that's not a good excuse either, because you're going to come up against good offense or good defensive lines. You're going to meet those guys. You have to be prepared to take on those guys. You can't make it to the Super Bowl with an offensive line that is only good against mediocre defensive linemen. My thing is you're out of options. Kendrick Green.
What chestnut checkers.
Energy. That's the one. Chestnut checkers.
Love it.
But the thing is you're out of options. Kevin Dotson can't stay healthy, so you can't rely on him. He should have been the answer. Mason Cole is Mason. I think the rest of them are fine. Chooks is somehow the best offensive lineman they have. I think you just got to start plugging and playing guys until you hope somebody works. There's a why is none of the sports talks people talking about Pat Meyer? Because last year it showed that. Because the Steelers have gone through 3 offensive line coaches in the last 2 years, and it's a prime example of why it's not the offensive line coaches. It's just the fact that they are not investing in the offensive line. You get what you pay for. You pick Najee Harris, Pat Freiermuth, Chase Claypool, all these names above offensive linemen. All those positions are going to be better than your offensive line. That's what we're stuck with right now. That's where the issue is. Would you give up a 4th round pick for Tevin Jenkins? Is Tevin Jenkins healthy? I don't know if he's healthy.
I might try to go another route. I don't know. A couple of people have name dropped Eric Fisher in the chat. Can't be worse. He's got the resume.
Eric Fisher is on. My issue with Eric Fisher here is it's okay to give up on Kendrick Green and Kevin Dotson. I feel really comfortable with that decision. I don't know how comfortable I feel with giving up on Dan Moore, because Dan Moore looked good in the first preseason game and then he looked really bad in the second. And I don't know if it gets better, but I feel less comfortable giving up on Eric Fisher or on Dan Moore.
Great question right here. Nope, not that. Do you think we're overreacting too early in the preseason? I think yes and no. I think yes and no.
No. You want to know why we're not? Because last year we would have asked ourselves the same question. This is not a new thing.
I think that's what plays into it. It's like walking to a movie theater, already watching a movie you've seen. And it's like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen to this part. Like we've seen it. Nothing's changed. Yeah.
Nothing's changed. But that's what I'm saying. Nothing's changed. I could say if the argument is, are we overreacting on James Daniels? I wouldn't say no, but I would say I'd give that one more time. Kendrick Green, what am we missing here? It's not like he's like like last year was he can't play center. He's getting beat off the ball. Now he's getting pushed 4 yards into the backfield on every single snap. So it's like, okay, well, it's the same issue. It's the same guy. It's the different position. So he's clearly just really bad. Kevin Dotson, same thing. Ankle injury. The guy can't stay healthy because his ankles are giving out on him. That sucks, but.
How much do you attribute to coaching? Like how much of
zero.
this?
Zero.
Really?
Zero.
I would put a little on it.
Why?
Just a smidge.
Why?
Because clearly what they're doing is not working.
but they haven't had
a
anybody
large
there.
majority of it.
They've gone through 3 offensive line coaches in the last 12 months.
Yeah, that doesn't help anybody.
It doesn't, but it maybe it'd get a little bit better if they had consistency. But I can't blame Pat Meyer for not being here for the last year.
Oh, for sure. I'm not saying he deserves all the blame, but like at a certain point, if you guys aren't like, if your crew isn't performing, he's going to be looked at first. Like the first 2 preseason games have not been pretty at all. At what point are you, as Mike Tomlin, the head coach of the Steelers, looking at that room and saying, hey, man, you got to do something different. Like, we have to change this. Or do you just let it play out and say, hey, man, these guys, they just need time together. They just need continuity. They just need to play as a group. But the only problem with that is we said the same thing last year. We said the same exact words last year, and nothing changed.
Exactly. I would say I'm putting more blame on Tomlin and Colbert than if we were going to direct it at the coaching, because I don't think they've invested. I think we could overlook a lot of this if it was one guy that struggled, but you haven't. James Daniels is the only guy you've invested in, and that one I'm okay with saying ease the brakes on, but the rest of them, like, that's your own doing. You've been one of the biggest Chooks critics I've met, rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
He is your highest investment outside.
There were times last year and like, this is coming from a dude like who does not think he's all that great, where he looked like he was the best out of the starting 5.
He is the best out of the starting 5, and that's terrible.
Last year. Yeah,
exactly. But that's terrible. That's what I mean. There has to be an investment there where you say, okay, well, this guy sucks, but at least we put a first-round pick into him and he didn't work out. Then it's a bust. Then it's on that guy. It's not on anybody else. But I'm not blaming Kendrick Green for being a bad 3rd-round pick. There's a lot of bad 3rd-round picks that come into the NFL. Sure. A ton of them. I'm not going to blame Dan Moore for being a bad second-year, fourth round left tackle who played right tackle in college. There's a ton of those guys too. If he was a 1st-round pick, I'd be like, well, that guy sucks. Like, we should figure that one out. But you get what you pay for, and that's just what it is. That's just what it is. I agree, man. Bring back Zach Banner. I don't know what he'd do for this team, but I don't know.
That'd be something.
I don't know.
That would be something.
Yeah, that would be something.
See what Big Al's doing nowadays. Why not?
Oh gosh, would you rather have Zach Banner or Big Al? Who'd you rather have come back?
Zach Banner.
I think so too. I don't think it helps, but
no.
I don't know. That's terrible. All right, let's talk a little bit of quarterback, but first, we got a word from our boys over at Manscaped. Fellas, fantasy football draft season is right around the corner. CD Lamb is good, but have you seen D's beautiful balls? It's time to get your snake looking right for this snake draft with our sponsors for today's show, Manscaped. The leaders in below-the-waist grooming have created a championship lineup with their Performance Package 4.0. Join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get ready for kickoff by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with our code STEELERS20. Inside this Performance Package 4.0, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner spray, Performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag. Tom Brady didn't come out of retirement for you to have hairy balls. Slotted at quarterback, we have the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. This spaceship is here to guide you on a journey to trim your body, balls, and even your A-gap. This 4th-generation trimmer also features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 has a 7,000 RPM motor, a new multifunction on-off switch, can engage a travel lock, and is even waterproof. The Lawnmower 4.0 also has a 4,000K LED spotlight, which allows you to be as accurate as Bill Belichick with the challenge flag. The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker, the ultimate flex. Watch it run through nose and ear hairs like Derrick Henry coming up the gut. The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and uses a 9,000 RPM motor-powered 360-degree rotary dual-blade system. This nose and ear hair trimmer provides proprietary skin-safe technology, which helps reduce nicks, snags, and tugs in those sensitive holes. Don't forget the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and the Crop Reviver Toner Spray to help your little bench warmers be on their A game while feeling the sun's heat. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Who's the commissioner now? Get 20% off with free shipping with our code Steelers20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code Steelers20 at manscaped.com. It's time to put the PP back in PPR and get a grip on your pigskin this season with Manscaped. That's my favorite, is the ending. Dude. That's definitely 100% my favorite.
Bro, who writes those?
I don't know, but they should be getting paid so much money, because I started doing the True Classic ones, and they're good, but these ones are, I'm gonna cry the day that they're like, hey man, we don't want to do this anymore. I'm gonna be like, well, I might shut down the whole podcast, because this ain't it. It's not worth it anymore. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's great stuff. Thanks, Eddie.
There's some
we
wild
appreciate you,
people
bro.
in the comments, man.
Huh?
So there's some wild people in the comments, man.
I don't care.
Bro, it's a Tuesday. Go spread positivity, man. Go get some tacos.
We're all about it is Taco
bro.
Tuesday. It is Taco Tuesday. I got an iced pumpkin. This thing was full when we started this podcast. I'm itching. It's bringing out the party hat Tuesdays. I love it. All right. Let's talk quarterbacks. Chris Holdoken gone. I still believe Mason Rudolph has a possibility of getting dealt by week 1. I think that this week, let me ask this. Let's start here. Do you think that Mitch Trubisky plays this weekend against the Lions?
I thought I read somewhere that Tomlin said that Trubisky was going to play at least a half. Did I misread that?
Oh, I did not.
Okay. I probably.
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think Trubisky will play because Tomlin basically admitted that the quarterback competition was still a thing, right?
Yeah, still very much in play.
Yeah. So I would fully expect Trubisky to play.
Okay, so I think that Mitch Trubisky does not play. Let me explain my reasoning here. I think Mitch Trubisky has already won the quarterback battle, okay? But just like we've been saying this entire time, it's not his to win. I think Kenny Pickett is going to start and get his opportunity to win it. That sounds crazy. I get it. You asked me this a week ago. I don't have this same thought. My thought is this is Mitch Trubisky's job. It's over. Whatever. Now, I'm thinking Kenny Pickett maybe. And here's my thought here, okay? Kenny Pickett has done exactly what they've asked him to do. They rep the heck out of this guy in the red zone and in 2-minute drill. He has taken snaps on all of them. It took him a minute to get some red zone snaps, but once he got in there, he never missed red zone snaps. He never misses the 2-minute drill. What has he executed on perfectly in this preseason? 2-minute drill
drills.
And in the red zone. That's all you're asking. Mitch Trubisky or Kenny Pickett came into the NFL. His biggest asset was that he was a winner. The Steelers said, okay, well, we're going to just fine-tune your ability to win. We're going to make you a winner. What did Ben Roethlisberger do best? Why was he so amazing? Because in 2 minutes, he was unstoppable. They want Kenny Pickett to be the same way. He's done all that. Now, I think this is going to be the week where they say, we're going to give you an opportunity to showcase what you could do from the jump. Detroit's going to be playing all their starters. Go show us something. If he doesn't, and he's got to put on a big show, but if he doesn't put on a big show, Mitch is the starter, and I think they feel comfortable with that. If he does put on a huge show, I think they split reps in practice the next week, and then come Friday, Tomlin picks a starting quarterback. I think that's what we could be looking at.
I really don't lean one way or another on this. I've been very adamant from the jump that I am so cool with Kenny Pickett taking his time to get himself integrated into the NFL. You brought up, I think last week, that they paid Trubisky $14 million, and it'd kind of be hard for them to shell out that money. Granted, they paid Big Ben all those years, but I mean, night and day difference. You're just not going to pay that money for him to sit on the bench theoretically. But I mean, like, when you really step back and look at it, I think more than anything, Trubisky was an insurance policy in case they didn't get their guy in the draft, who was Kenny Pickett. It would have been, okay, you know what? We'll take next best player available. We'll roll with Trubisky, and then we'll kind of see what happens from there. I was watching. It's so funny watching things develop, including you and I. I feel like our opinions kind of like change and evolve over the course of time after we see more things. The national media, though, like watching like ESPN and like Pro Football Talk on like NBC and stuff, the narrative since Kenny Pickett has gotten drafted has been, man, he kind of slid. Didn't really expect the Steelers. Not that they didn't expect the Steelers to get him, but is he really the best quarterback in this draft class? He was taken first at his position. Is he really the best? Kind of transition to modern day where we're talking now. ESPN today talking about where Kenny Pickett should start. Pretty much everybody on the panel on Get Up said, yeah, Pickett's the guy.
Was
Pro Football Talk
on that
Mike
panel?
Florio. I'm sorry?
Was Brooke on that panel? She's the only ESPN one I would trust.
She was on the one a couple of days ago, not like the most recent episode. Watch Pro Football Talk with Mike Florio today. Him and I forgot the other guy who does it. I think he's like Chris or whatever. Should Kenny Pickett start this year? Yeah. And they're all talking about how Kenny Pickett is this like older guy as a rookie. I think somebody threw out the number that like he's older than all of the quarterbacks who were taken in the first round of the 2020 NFL draft. He's older than Jalen Hurts, who's going into his third year. So like in terms of like him like trying to get ready and him, you know, still being a young guy, like he's Chris Sims. Thank you. He's not some like young pup. Like he's a dude. So like the Steelers should feel very confident in starting him. And like, sure, that can be the case. I also wouldn't be surprised to see Trubisky start. My question for you though, how short do you think the leash is for Mitch Trubisky this year?
No, I don't think it's short at all. I think that if Mitch is I think that if Mitch is the guy, I think whoever's the guy is the guy. You know, Mike Tomlin never struck me as I'm going to keep him on a short leash type situation. Now, if the Steelers are 1-8 at the bye, that's a different situation. If they're not 1-8 at the bye, I think this is Mitch's job until the end of the season, and then next year you'll evaluate it. And I think the same thing with Kenny Pickett. I could see both sides of the argument. This is a great one. You stash Kenny until you get your own line together. Because think about it like this. There's another quarterback in Pittsburgh who was in this exact same situation as Kenny Pickett. He had a terrible offensive line. He was a first-round draft pick. He had one really good year in college before coming into the NFL. His name's Mitch Trubisky. 4 years later, he's on the open market trying to find a new home. You don't want to do that to Kenny Pickett. At the same time, you don't want to hold Kenny Pickett back if you feel he is ready. I think he needs to be 100% ready. Mitch has not lost the job, and he won't lose the job. It's just a matter of, can Kenny Pickett come out here and on Sunday blow everybody's socks off, and you say, okay, well, there's no argument against starting this guy except for the fact that the offensive line is bad. But I don't think the Steelers are going to care about that. I don't think the Steelers are looking at this and saying, well, our offensive line sucks, so season's over. Might as well just toss in the towel. They're not thinking like that. And that might be a little bit of selfish. It might be a little selfish, but that's how they're going to look at it. And again, like if Mitch is the guy, I think I have a lot of confidence in what Mitch is able to do. But I just think that Kenny has an opportunity to show he's the guy. And I think he's got a little bit of an edge over in this competition because he's a first-round draft pick. And at some point, politics comes into the NFL. And you could pay a boatload of money, but if you're a first-round draft pick, you're always first.
Yeah, I think first. The interesting thing was listening to the panel on ESPN talk about how short of a leash Trubisky had, and they were saying by week 4 Pickett was going to be the guy. And like, at least in my opinion, even if you start like 0-4, like that's still kind of like a shorter leash to work with, in my opinion. But I think regardless, man, they're going to play the best guy. Like whether or not like the offensive line sucks, like you said, whether or not like Pickett is going to be ready as a rookie or not, they're going to play the best guy. Like the Steelers are in the business of winning football games. Like they're not trying to do anything else. So they're going to put the best possible player out there, whether that is a experienced Mitch Trubisky, whether or not that is a rookie Kenny Pickett, kind of regardless. I think one more thing I wanted to like get to you though, how like put a percentage for me, just humor me. How close do you think this quarterback battle is to being determined? Do you think they have a good idea of who's going to be the guy, or like, do you really think heading into week 3, it's like anybody's up for grabs?
I'm telling you, if you asked me this last Thursday, I would say that it is already closed. Mike Tomlin knows what's going to happen. And I think Mike Tomlin did know what was going to happen. Sitting here today, I think it's more open than it's ever been. I think sitting here right now, it is more open than it's ever been because Kenny Pickett has put himself in that situation. And again, I don't want this to sound like it's a jab on Mitch. I think Mitch Trubisky's played well. He's done what he's asked to do. I feel very confident with him as a starting quarterback in week 1. I just think that Kenny Pickett has impressed people enough to say I'm in this argument, and let's see if he has another opportunity. That's why I think that I don't know if we're gonna see Mitch play on Sunday, because I think the Steelers already have seen what they need to see out of Mitch Trubisky. I don't think that it's he has to play well to win the job. I think they're gonna give Kenny an opportunity to say, hey man, go out there, show us what you could do. And then I honestly think this might be an even bigger conspiracy theory. I have a good feeling about the first one, but number 2 here, I think this is a tryout game for Mason Rudolph. I think that the whole second half he's going to play, and that's the Steelers saying, hey, guys, look he's here. He's going to win 2 games for us. Maybe somebody who's looking for a backup quarterback should come make a phone call and see what we want for Mason Rudolph. Maybe.
I've heard a lot worse conspiracy theories whenever it comes to the Steelers and the rest of the NFL. I don't know, man. This is a situation we have not seen in Pittsburgh for a very long time. It feels new, even though like I see a couple people in the chat bring it up. Like Ben wouldn't have played if like Charlie Batch and Tommy Maddox didn't get hurt, which is absolutely true. But I mean, I think that just might reinforce the idea that like things happen for a reason, man. So like, dude, if I'm just saying, like, I hope this doesn't happen, but if for whatever reason, like Trubisky isn't playing well, or like he gets hurt and Kenny goes in and like just balls out the first couple games, everybody and their mother in that stadium and everybody watching at home is going to get like that weird vibe they got from number 7 the first time around. And there's already pretty high expectations for Kenny in Pittsburgh as well.
That's what I'm saying. Like how do you do that to a whole organization? If that's where the energy is, if that's where the spark is, keep the spark alive, like, and I like the argument of it was Ben Roethlisberger. He wasn't going to start his rookie year. Like I agree with that one 100%. I don't think that it should be looked at like Kenny. I don't think at the beginning of the summer, if you asked me how this should have went, I would have said, well, it's Mitch's job and it should stay Mitch's job. And Kenny shouldn't be involved really much at all in this quarterback competition. But Kenny's done what he's needed to do. And I wasn't around for the Ben days, so I couldn't see how Ben played in training camp, but all I see is now, and I see a spark. And I just think that you keep that spark. I don't know why you don't. And like on top of that, what happens if he wins? What happens if he comes out here and at halftime, I get it's the Detroit Lions, but what happens if at halftime it's 21-0 and Kenny Pickett's 3 touchdowns deep and the offense is rolling? What do you do? At that point, it's a hard argument to make. It's just like, we're going to put him on the bench now, see what happens. Like, I don't know. But that being said, if he doesn't win the battle, I will stick to my argument that there is no leash for Mitch Trubisky. It's his team unless they absolutely suck. Yeah, full season unless there's an extreme. Okay. Like I said, if you're 1-8 at the bye, Kenny Pickett's
Oh,
going
you have to. I think maybe even like before that.
Yeah, 1-5. If you're 1-5, 1-4, you start making that move. But I don't see that happening. I just don't. I think that they'll at bare minimum start 2-2, and then they'll move on. The front half of the Steelers schedule isn't super difficult, so I think that you could. I think that you could jump into all that. You could say that the leash isn't going to be there unless proven otherwise. There's a lot going on. I'm ready to.
Yeah, there is.
There's a lot going on. I'm trying to keep up with the questions, but it's more like takes. So I appreciate all you guys. I think everybody kind of has their opinion. I hope I got everybody's out here while we're talking. We addressed pretty much everything, right? Oh, I want to talk about a little bit of inside linebacker. Mark Robinson was brought up way earlier in the chat, and that's a good argument to make. Devin Bush being hurt. He's dealing with an ankle injury. I think we both liked what we saw from Mark Robinson during the last preseason game, even the preseason game before that to some degree. He's not going to start at inside linebacker, but how big of a role do you think a 7th-round pick could play this season for Pittsburgh?
I mean, I feel like whenever you get on the field and you watch him play, you're not thinking he's a 7th-round pick. You're thinking he's a guy who could probably contribute to some really good football on the defensive side of the field. That being said, I don't know if like Robinson's going to be a starter, like you said. I don't even know how much that would factor into like Robert Spillane's playing time. All I can really tell you is he plays really well. Yep. He's very fast. And somebody made the comparison to Vince Williams. And I think just like the whole mentality of like see ball, find ball, like hit ball.
See ball, find ball.
Yeah, like whatever that saying is, like he just lives that. Like Jesus, not the Jack Lambert comparison.
Yeah, but it's like it's true. Just
he plays
see
good.
Ball, hit ball.
He plays good. Yeah. No, he's played very, very well. He's taken advantage of a lot of his opportunities. And dude, honestly, like if he continues, why not give him a shot?
I agree with that one. I think the Steelers inside linebacker group is very interesting because you're not going to remove Robert Spillane from what he does, because I think what he does very well. He's a solid run stuffer, but you have to make sure that he's not on the field for any situation where there might be a passing down. Mark Robinson, if he shows himself to be an all-around back, which so far it's been very hit or miss, he's a thumper, but I like a thumper. Maybe he works his way into that. I think the only person you remove from that equation is Bush, and I think they're very open to that. I think come week 1, if Bush struggles, the Steelers are not going to – you want to talk about a short leash. Devin Bush's short leash might be very short if he struggles in week 1. At that point, they're going to be looking for all sorts of answers. I think Mark Robinson is top of that list. I would say Terrell Edmonds moving down into the box a little bit more is right up there as well.
They got me.
Okay, this is very true. This is very true. And it's a good argument to make. But at the same time, I think that they understand that, 90% of the time you're going to find yourself in a situation where it's just like, it is what it is. We missed out on that one. It was still a wasted pick. I'll admit that one, but nothing to get up in arms over. But that's a good point. That's a great point, actually.
Yeah, it's true.
I think I need to see him play better in pass coverage. He played well against Jacksonville, didn't play well against the Seahawks. Need to see him play better in pass coverage. Do like that he got first team reps during practice the other day. Would like to see that again on Wednesday. I could see it. I could see him playing a decent sized role. I like that he plays the outside and the inside. Like his sack against the Seahawks, he was lined up outside. He wasn't the outside linebacker, but he was lined up outside like a Micah Parsons. I was all about that. I think that that's a great, like for a guy who's just looking to hit people. Gotta love that. Gotta love that.
Can you just tell me, like, obviously we're only 2 preseason games in, but like you've been there every day for training camp. You've been there at like all the practices and stuff. What's that been like with Brian Flores there? Like, is there like a night and day difference between like the defense that you've seen since he's arrived?
No. But I do think that the Mark Robinson blitz against Seattle was Brian Robinson designed. I think that you see just a different mentality, like you see Flores and TA working a little bit more than Tomlin on the defense. I think that if anybody's going to pull Tomlin away from his defensive hold, it's going to be Flores mixed with TA. I don't think it's a one-man show, but I mean, I don't think I've seen a night and day difference. We'll see it a little bit. Paul, I think you know Paul. But
bro, I don't know Paul, I promise you, man.
You don't know
what
Paul?
I did to anybody, no.
Paul, man, that's not nice, dude. That's not nice. We got a lot of trolls really just 2 of them. But I haven't seen. It could be the hat. Could be the hat. I like the 3 safety look. So this is an option for the Pittsburgh Steelers that I think needs to have a little bit more attention. Terrell Edmonds played really well in the box. He's always played really well in the box. DeMonte KZ brings that element that you're like, well, you could play 3 safeties every down. You're not missing a beat. And there's an argument of a 350-pound offensive lineman trying to block a 310-pound Terrell Edmonds, and I get that one. But for the most part, he finds his way into the backfield all the time. And I think the more we move, the more the Steelers will start to say, oh, okay, well, let's rock 3 safeties a little bit more, a little bit less Devin Bush. I think either way, Devin Bush is working his way out. By the end of the season, we won't see much of Devin Bush. That's my bold
Well, it's a
prediction.
good thing he's still going to be an NFL player.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not. My theory on Devin Bush, and I think I said this last week, is that Devin Bush has a Jalen Smith type route to where he's going to get let go from Pittsburgh at some point, and then he's going to have a hard time clicking with another team. But I don't know. KZ is a dog. So I think that it's really tough for it's really tough for the Steelers at inside linebacker because they have a bunch of options. It's just figuring out if any of them are good. But I do feel way better about that situation than I do the offensive line. So, or outside linebacker. So I think it's much smaller. Gary, you are not the only one.
Gary, I think Cam Hayward wanted to do that in the offseason after that like cat video.
Jeez. There was a question, and this is a good way to end it here, about Derek Watt. So Derek Watt's cap hit is locked in. It's dead money. But would you be surprised if you saw him not make the team over a guy like Jaylen Warren? If you saw 4 running backs make the team and not Derek Watt.
I thought that whenever they drafted Connor Hayward, I thought Watt might have been a cap casualty just because I thought Hayward was going to play more of that like fullback role as opposed to kind of just being like a traditional tight end. Not that they're not going to move Hayward around, but I mean, like obviously he's getting some work in with the tight ends. You're paying Derek Watt a lot of money to not do what he could probably do best, and that's to play at the fullback position.
Play fullback.
I don't know, man. I don't know if I have a sweet spot for fullbacks because like Roosevelt Nix just like mowed through everybody, known the man whenever he played here.
Was the dude. Yeah,
he was the dude. And like Derek Watt is like a really good special teams player too. So like I'm all for good special teams guys being on the Steelers. I just like at this point, excuse me, like why are we waiting if you were going to cut him?
I think because you want to see if Jaylen Warren is real because the money's dead. You know, you're not going to save any money by cutting him. So you have to see if Jaylen Warren is real before you make that decision. Because
I think like at the end of the day, I would be surprised if they cut Derek Watt and they kept.
You would be?
I would be. Yeah.
Would you be equally as surprised if Benny Snell got cut?
Yeah, I would.
Oh, so you think Jaylen Warren's gone?
I don't know. I really have no idea what to think. Which plays into a couple of people in the comments of what they think about me, but like I don't know.
What? So what do you think happens at the running back position? What do you think happens in the 53?
Obviously, like just Najee, Benny Snell, and then obviously I think Derek Watt probably sticks on the team just because his like special team contributions.
And then Anthony McFarland.
That's what we
I
were
think
talking about
McFarland's
the last couple
locked.
of weeks, man. Yeah. Well, like, is he though?
I think so. I think he's a huge lock. I think he's
Okay.
the only lock out of the group because he's the only one that has like set packages for him, who's actually produced outside of Jaylen Warren, but he's not fighting. Anthony McFarland wasn't fighting from the ground up. He pretty much had a spot.
Warren looked good whenever he played.
Warren does look good. That's the thing, though. You got to get rid of somebody to keep Warren, and I think it comes down to Anthony McFarland could do things that Benny Snell and Derek Watt can't. I think Benny Snell could do things that Derek Watt can, but do you get rid of Derek Watt? Do you need, at worst case scenario, Benny Snell would be a very viable fullback. Duke could block.
Bro, you're not putting Benny Snell at fullback, bro.
You're not putting Derek Watt at fullback.
But you should put Derek Watt at fullback.
You definitely should.
He's good.
But you're not. Yeah, he is. But you're
like,
not.
If you're gonna pay a fullback not to play fullback, then why are you gonna pay a running back to not play running back? Like, it's just like,
because you're gonna pay, because Benny Snell's cheaper, and they could both. If it comes down to special teams, Benny Snell is cheaper. You could probably do a little bit more than him than Derek Watt, and he's just as good of a special teamer, if not better, than Derek Watt. I think that's what it comes down to is like, Warren's only going to make the team if he's good enough on special teams and doesn't lose this job in the third preseason game. Anthony McFarland, I think, could do things that the other three can't do. So that's what keeps him locked in. But Derek Watt and Benny Snell are like the same person. And if you used a fullback, that's 100% Derek Watt. There's no question about it. But you don't use a fullback. So it comes down to who could play special teams better. You have 70 guys that could play special teams. Like, this is the most special teams loaded Pittsburgh Steelers team we've ever seen. There's a million. You got Miles Kilbrew, Marcus Allen, Mark Robinson, hopefully, Benny Snell Jr., Jaylen Warren, Derek Watt, Trey Norwood. There's just a million. Justin Lane, Miles Boykin. There's just a million people who could play special teams. You just don't need them. You just don't need them. So I don't know.
I'm not paid to make those decisions. I'm glad I'm not paid to make those decisions. Like, it's not like a minor decision, but it's also like not going to make or break the Steelers, So
I don't know if it's going to make or break the Steelers, but I do think that at the end of the day, my money would be on Watt to go over Snell, which I think is pointless either way. If it was up to me, you get rid of all of them, keep Jaylen Warren on the practice squad, have Anthony McFarland, because none of them are going to touch the field anyways, and go get a bunch of options to play inside linebacker or outside linebacker, because nobody cares, like what at the end of the season when Najee Harris touches the football 300 times, nobody, like, it's not going to, this conversation isn't going to be relevant. It just can't be.
Yep.
So, but use a fullback. It does help a weak offensive line. We know
they're paying a fullback a lot of money to not do it. So
to not do it, and terrible offensive line. So somebody needs to let Mike Tomlin and Matt Canada know that. But I don't think there's any getting around that at this point. All right, we're heading out of here. But first, Donnie has a little bit of an announcement. I'm gonna let him take it over.
Yeah, funny enough, people were asking me to kind of bounce out of the show in the comments. Appreciate you guys.
That guy's been blocked.
Yeah, good. Thank you. I am leaving. So this is going to be my last week with All Steelers Talk. We teased the giveaway for this bad boy right here. Signed Jack Ham photo, authentication on the back. I will mail it out to whoever the winner is. The winner will be determined. I believe we agreed Thursday during the live stream. Yeah, so we'll figure out something. We will give that picture away during the live stream on Thursday. So make sure you tune in. Same time, 6:00 p.m. Eastern Pittsburgh time on Thursday. Last week, kind of sad, but big things are on the horizon. I'm really excited to get going. Oh, excuse me, with those, but definitely the end of an era, man. Does not feel good to say.
Yeah, it's tough, and I'll have a lot more to say on Thursday. I don't feel like crying right now, but no, I don't want anybody to think, and we don't want anybody to think that anything happened. Donnie's got big opportunities in front of him, so we're very excited about what's to come. And hopefully we might have more news on Thursday, but don't worry, we're going to keep pushing forward. Steven, who's been filling in, is going to jump on Mondays and Wednesdays with me. Derek's still going to be around on Fridays. I'll have a live stream Tuesdays, Thursdays, and a to-go episode. So we'll have plenty of content to fill huge shoes.
No.
But it's definitely a tough week for all of us, but we love you. And like I said, I'll cry on Thursday. So make sure that you're there too. Yeah, probably same. So make sure that you guys are there to get the Jackcam photo. We'll give it away in the live stream when we're doing it. Like we said, Donnie, love you. We'll see you on Thursday. Everybody else, make sure to go subscribe to our YouTube, youtube.com/allsteelerstalk, and check us out anywhere you get your podcasts. Enjoy the night. We'll be back on Thursday. And as always, go use our promo code at manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping. Enjoy your day. Peace.